In episode 72, iPiffle on the consequences of giving birth, resulting in overpopulation. Sophocles, an ancient Greek playwright, wrote, "To never have been born may be the greatest boon of all." I have no idea what his life was like or what was in his mind when he wrote these words. I only know that when you endeavor to bring a new life into this world, you are placing them in a very precarious situation. Unless you were one of the fortunate few who have enjoyed a relatively easy existence, life for many unfortunate souls can be a hard cross to bear. Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher, argued that birth is ultimately negative because any positive experiences will always be outweighed by suffering, which is a more powerful feeling. Peter Wessel Zapf, a Norwegian philosopher, stated that children are brought into this world without consent. He wrote that, in accordance with my conception of life, I have chosen not to bring children into the world. A coin is examined, and only after careful deliberation given to a beggar, whereas a child is flung out into the cosmic brutality without hesitation. More recently, Benatar, a South African professor of philosophy, made the argument that the infliction of harm is morally wrong and should be avoided. Since the birth of a child always entails significant harm to that person, procreation should also be avoided. Benatar bases his opinions on the following premise: pain is bad, pleasure is good. The absence of pain is good even if there is no one to benefit from it, and the absence of good is not bad unless this absence is being kept from someone. Therefore, if a person is given life, then he is likely to experience both pleasure and pain during that lifetime. On the other hand, if that person was never conceived into this life, then nothing bad can happen to him, and so pain is avoided. For Benatar, any amount of suffering a person must endure in life would be sufficient to imply that his coming into existence has caused him harm. So why cause anyone harm when it is not only wrong, but it is also avoidable? According to Benatar, it is always a positive thing to avoid harm to someone, and the best way to avoid harm to any person is by not causing them to come into existence, which is always a good thing. As is stated by Jimmy Alfonso Lacon, a contemporary philosopher of science, he puts forth the idea that procreation is never morally justifiable unless some method could be put in place for acquiring informed consent from the person being born. Since it is impossible to gain consent from a non-existent person, one can infer that procreation is immoral. There are other noted philosophers who have theorized that coming into existence has many more negatives than positives and is not necessarily beneficial even for those people who are alive right now. Once a person has been conceived, the harm has already been done, and the living must then suffer the consequences. Failure to procreate does not deprive the non-existent person of anything, neither good nor bad. Bringing children into the world is unlikely to bring happiness to anyone, not even the parents. For if they pause to consider the implications of their actions, they would come to understand that they are the cause of much harm. Therefore, it is always a good thing not to have children. Breakthroughs in modern medicine are causing us to live longer lives. Consider for a moment the consequences to mankind if a research scientist were to discover a cure for all forms of cancer. He would be lauded as a hero, receive the Nobel Prize, and be regarded as a savior and a saint. Think of all the lives he will have saved. People will live longer than ever before. No one will have to suffer any more horrible deaths from the ravages of cancer. Families will be spared the anguish of caring for those and then losing their loved ones. However, if you stop to consider the full implications of what a cancer cure might mean, you would have to realize that this may, in fact, lead to even greater suffering and deaths in the years to come. With a dramatic increase in life expectancy, this will also cause a dramatic increase in world population. Food and water will become even scarcer. Natural resources will become depleted at a faster rate. All of this will not portend well for the future of man. There will be dire consequences, and an untold number of people will suffer and die as a result. It is also a very real possibility that other, even more deadly diseases will rear up and kill many more people. A mutation, a global pandemic, or a worldwide plague could kill millions, perhaps even billions of people. So in this regard, a cancer cure very likely could be the cause of even greater suffering and far more deaths. Thank you for listening. I hope you will join me in my next video.